and welcome. The International Cargo Tracking Note, Ictn, has a history dating back to 2010 when it was first introduced by the federal government. However, due to controversies and resistance from stakeholders, mainly concerns over additional financial burden on shippers, it was withdrawn in both 2010 and 2015 respectively. On today's program, we shall be looking at this all-important shipping document, the journey thus far and the way forward. Our tidbit segment will also definitely feature. In that segment, you shall be updated on local and international goings-on in the maritime scene. Get a comfortable seat and grab a large cool drink while we go on a short commercial break.
For more than 5 decades, we have empowered and protected the interests of shippers in the nation's maritime industry. Our focus is to facilitate trade, regulate tariffs and rates, as well as handle shippers' complaints on cargo losses, damage and non-delivery. We offer dispute resolution mechanism for shipping and trade disputes between shippers and service providers. We are Nigerian Shippers Council, Nigeria's port economic regulator, your gateway to a thriving maritime sector. Nigerian Shippers Council will meet you at the port of your need.
Welcome back. You are watching The Shipper, your indispensable maritime focused program, brought to you by Nigerian Shippers Council, the nation's port economic regulator. I am Victoria Yavala. The reintroduction of the International Cargo Tracking Note was the basis of a stakeholders roundtable organized by Maritime Reporters Association of Nigeria, Maran. This reintroduction into the Nigerian shipping system marks a critical moment for the nation's maritime sector. This automated tracking system, which allows goods to be followed from their ports of departure to their destination port in real time, holds immense potential for trade facilitation, security enhancement, and revenue generation. At the forefront of this initiative is Nigerian Shippers Council, a key agency committed to ensuring seamless and efficient port operations. Let us now join Lucy Yambi as she presents the story as gathered by the shippers' correspondents.
The International Cargo Tracking Note, Ictn, also known as the Loading Certificate, is a document required by countries within and outside the African continent to monitor the importation and export of goods. Its development was to improve trade transparency, security, and facilitate the movement of goods across international borders, while also helping government collect accurate data for statistical purposes and ensure appropriate customs duties and other relevant fees are collected and documented accurately. The representative of the Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Shippers Council, Mr. Celestine Akujobi, told stakeholders at the roundtable that Ictn is not a new initiative to the Council. According to him, the Council managed it in the past before it was suspended. He assured that this would be of immense help to all stakeholders, importers, exporters, and ship owners alike.
Ictn is something that started years ago, and it started immediately after the dissolution of the conferences. It was an advisory that all the shippers' councils should monitor movement of cargo from port of origin to destination. That was how we started. Let us not lose sight of that. It's adopted advice to all the developing countries at that time, especially during the demise of the liner conferences. And in that regard too, as following that request or guidance by UNCTAD, the Union of African Shippers Councils came back, sat down, met, and discussed on they adopted it and then how to implement it. And I can tell you that even our sister country here, Benin, started this implementation as early as 2006. Others started around 2011. And today, there are over 20 countries, both in the West and Central African sub-region, implementing Ictn. We tried it in the past. It was successful. I can attest to that.
Assistant Comptroller General of Customs, Charles Obi, while fervently backing the use of International Cargo Tracking Note, gave verifiable examples of its effectiveness as the needed critical intelligence which allowed them make some recent high-profile seizures of arms, ammunition, and illicit drugs. Forget the cost implication. security first being his retort to the increased cost implications postulated by its opposers.
This is not merely about adopting new technology. It's about fundamentally improving how we conduct maritime trade in Nigeria. Successful implementation will position our ports as more efficient, transparent, and competitive gateways for international trade. Let us work together to implement international cargo tracking nodes in a way that serves our nation's interest while facilitating international trade. The future of our maritime sector depends on our ability to embrace and effectively implement modern solutions that enhance both security and efficiency.
According to Dr. Eugene Nweke, Head of Research, Sea Empowerment and Research Center, CIREC, having shown remarkable results in countries like Ghana, Kenya, Turkey, and Brazil, Nigeria has no choice but to follow suit. He further said Nigerian Shippers Council must be properly empowered to oversee the implementation and effective monitoring and compliance. Tackling the voices crying foul due to the marginal increase in shipping costs, he said, if at the end of the day the international cargo tracking note would help checkmate freight charges slammed on us by international shipping lines, I think they are doing us a service.
For safety and security reasons, we think that cargo tracking note, electronic cargo tracking note, which works on what we call API, a messenger that will transmit this message across every other stakeholder. And in doing that, is giving you one, accuracy of whatever is contained in your container. Two, it's also going to help you. In fact, it's a distance verification tool. That's what cargo tracking note in the electronic one, not the former one, the city and the manual one. This one is transmitted online and it has the capacity to change the whole horizon of our trading environment. On the issue of cost, we believe that every service render must have cost component, or every cost must have service component. And we're saying, if at the end of the day, this cargo tracking note will enable or give the shippers council the capacity and the enable them to actually know what the freight charged or imposed on us by the shipping line, I think that is not a service.
A member of a special task force of the Importers Association of Nigeria, IMAN, Dr. Mubarak Ibrahim Mahmood, posited that the international cargo tracking note's value goes beyond revenue generation. The need to have a law backing such initiative was also frowned upon by him, using the port reform of President Olusegun Obasanjo's era as an example. He said political will for implementation of people-centric policies.
Number one, we are interested in the interest of government. Number two, we are interested in the interest of an average importer who is an ordinary businessman in this country, who will put his money, buy items, ship them into Nigeria, come through the security clearance system of this country, which we believe the Nigerian customs is at that front line of managing. And at the end of the day, this ordinary Nigerian is able to remove his cargo peacefully and is able to make some reasonable profit out of that business without putting a lot of pressure on Nigerians just because of the troubles he had faced as a result of clearing his goods. So, we in IMAN believe that ordinary Nigerian who is a businessman must not do his business at the expense of national security, and neither should he do business at an entire cost to his own hard work. So, and therefore, we need a stabilization between the state actors who are meant to checkmate movement of cargoes in and out of Nigeria. Moving forward, I want to beg you, sir, that at times, initiatives like this might be good for us, but it will be necessary that we all sit down And like a gentleman of the press asked a question, let us look at the disadvantage and the advantage as relating to the cost. And I think the representative of the Executive Secretary of Nigerian Shippers Council have come to clear the air. It goes beyond revenue generation. We have a lot of solutions here, and we can only put together all our interests, having looked at all of these contributions, then we remove the good ones. So our position is, we want this Ictn, but at no cost to an average importer who is an ordinary businessman in Nigeria.
Reverend Jonathan Nicole, former president, Lagos Shippers Association, wants the Ictn to be domiciled in Nigerian Shippers Council.
We must agree that Ictn, with all that they have said, is unique if it can be practiced, operated properly, must be established with the support of the Nigerian Shippers Council, because they were set up to protect shippers. Finally, I want to say that all the Chinese in the ports should be critically looked into by the Nigerian Shippers Council and let them protect the interests of shippers by reducing costs.
In addressing all the issues raised by critics of Ictn, the representative of the council boss, Mr. Kujobi, dismissed the cost implication with assurance that costs would be minimal and absorbed within the trade system. He said that the Ictn is a trade facilitation tool with capability to provide real-time monitoring of goods in transit, which doesn't duplicate customs duties, but rather complements and enhances it. He said Shippers Council is committed to implementing it in a way that will enhance efficiency, reduce costs, and strengthen national security.
When a service is rendered, there must be some element of cost. But the thing is, the question now is, what is the level of that cost? Is it something that will add to the cost of doing business, or is it something that is so minimal that at least it can be absorbed? That's the angle we are looking at. When they tell you there's a misinformation here, that the cargo tracking is a revenue generating exercise, it is not. That is not the essence of cargo tracking load.
Try and try again is the mantra of those who succeed. Thus, the effort being put into the International Cargo Tracking Notes relaunch must be with a positive mindset. Success is the only outcome, which you can be rest assured to hear from us.
The ability to monitor goods from origin to destination cannot bring any minuses. It's a win-win situation all round. Our scopes will be especially trained on this, and you can be assured of regular updates. Let's now join Idowu Ogungbemi on our tidbit segment.
It's great to have you on another exciting edition of Tidbit segment of The Shipper. I am Idowu Ogungbemi, your guide to the latest trends, updates, and big stories from the maritime world. Let's get started. The Executive Secretary and CEO of the Nigerian Shippers Council, Dr. Pius Akuta, MON, recently received the planning committee for the Nigerian Maritime Conference and Exhibition at the Council headquarters in Lagos. The meeting focused on areas of collaboration to revive the Nigerian Maritime Conference and Exhibition, to showcase Nigeria's maritime potential, attract investors, and promote industry growth. Speaking at the meeting, Dr. Akuta disclosed the commitment of the Council in driving the renewed hope agenda of the President in the maritime industry, as the NSC is doing everything possible to achieve ease of doing business in the sector, which is in line with the vision and mission of NIMAREX. According to him, the Nigerian Shippers Council, as the port economic regulator, has a role to play in moving Nigeria to a ship owner country and creating an enabling environment for private sector investment to thrive, and also noted that the Council will be partnering with the body in furthering the regulatory mandate of the agency when NEPERA is signed into law.
The reforms that began in 2006, all the industry players like yourselves would agree that there was a gap. For Nigeria not to contemplate having a port economic regulator by law was a gap, a very huge gap, which we are trying to see how we can cover that gap. That gap has really contributed to all the inefficiencies that have existed in the sector over the years. And this is what the president wants to deal with, to have a sector that is effective, that is efficient, where there is predictability. You come in to set up a business, you know that this is the time it's going to take you to break even and make profit on your investment. The wish of the Nigerian Shippers Council that Nigeria becomes a maritime logistic hub. We have a comparative advantage, our location and every other thing working for us. We have the population, we have the market base, we have the strongest economy in Africa. So everything is working for us. But we need the private sector to participate. And the private sector needs us to provide the enabling environment so that they can put in their investments without fear that it might go down the drain.
In her response, the consultant of the Nigerian Maritime Exhibition, Ms. Funmi Folorunsho, said the event resuscitation is aimed at promoting partnerships for the development of Nigeria.
NMREX is crucial for advancing Nigeria's maritime potentials. It offers networking, investment and policy development opportunities. We pray that you will join us in the movement to make NMREX a global maritime hub.
In another development, the Nigerian Shippers Council has said that the role of barge operations is critical for cargo evacuation at the nation's seaport. Director Inland Transport Services, Mr. Mustafa Zubairu, stated this at the meeting with the Barge Operators Association of Nigeria in Lagos recently. Zubairu noted that the utilization of barges is key in Lekki Deep Port's operation, adding that the Nigerian Shippers Council, as the nation's port economic regulator, wants seamless cargo evacuation from the port.
We need to utilize the other mode of transportation, particularly rail and water transportation. Because when you look at Lekki Deep Sea Port, there is going to be an exponential increase in the cargo throughput. And the only way the problem could be resolved is through the utilization, effective and optimal utilization of the use of water transportation to solve the problem. That is the immediate solution, because rail transportation is not easy to construct it. It's not easy to actually have it in place because of its capital intensive nature. So water transportation is the low-hanging fruit. So we have to really see that it is properly coordinated, properly utilized, so that we can abate the problem of the access road in Apapa, so that it will not be extended to Lekki zone.
Speaking, the president of BUAN, Honorable Bomi Olumekun, said the association proposes tariff harmonization to create a more balanced and export-friendly environment that promotes national economic growth. Honorable Olumekun emphasizes the capacity development for operators and captains to enhance productivity and promote industry growth. He also reiterated the importance of legislation for the movement of heavy goods through waterways and the danger of carrying them by roads.
We talk about the legislation of our operations. Like if we want to say, okay, we really want to have a smooth or a good or legitimate business, we need to be backed by the law. So we are saying that part of barge operation has to be legislative. We have to be guided by law. That's what we are agitating for.
We encourage you to follow our social media pages at NG Shippers on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube for more of our latest updates, events, and information. Let's take a look at our complaint register for the week. Nigerian Shippers Council has received 4 complaints. These include issues with arbitrary charges, overstayed container, refund stoppage, and document handover fee charges. We encourage our stakeholders to visit our website at www.shipperscouncil.gov.ng for more information or to lodge their concerns. Now, let's switch our focus to the international maritime news. Masa Maroc Morocco's largest port operator announced recently that it had been awarded a contract for the operation of a second terminal in Nador West Port on the Mediterranean coast. The terminal is 18 meters deep and extends along 1,440 meters of quay. A first section of 900 meters will be dedicated to container activities, while 540 meters will be used for general cargo handling. Maroc announced that it would invest 280 million euros in the terminal located at Nador West Med. The new port will enhance Morocco's position in global supply chains, adding to Tanger Med port, which is the top Mediterranean port in terms of container handling and capacity. Similarly, Australia's Port of Newcastle has signed a formal advisory agreement with Japan's Mitsubishi Heavy Industry to advance its clean energy precinct project. The agreement, which builds on a memorandum of understanding signed in 2023, will reportedly enable the port to draw upon MHIS knowledge and expertise in the production, storage and distribution of hydrogen and ammonia, providing insights to support the CEP's front-end engineering design studies, which are currently underway. As disclosed, the studies cover electrical infrastructure, water services, general infrastructure, storage, berth infrastructure, and pipelines to berth. And that wraps up this week's edition of Tidbit on the Shipper. Thank you for joining. See you again next week for more updates.
For more than 5 decades, we have empowered and protected the interests of shippers in the nation's maritime industry. Our focus is to facilitate trade, regulate tariffs and rates, as well as handle shippers' complaints on cargo losses, damage and non-delivery. We offer dispute resolution mechanism for shipping and trade disputes between shippers and service providers. We are Nigerian Shippers Council, Nigeria's port economic regulator, your gateway to a thriving maritime sector. Nigerian Shippers Council will meet you at the port of your need.
Thank you for being a part of today's journey as we have arrived at our anchor point. Your presence is our motivation as we promise to set sail again next time. We wish you a swimmingly great week ahead. Thank you and goodbye.